Hi guys, welcome back. In this video, we discuss about Azure Backup. Azure Backup is a cloud-based backup service that protects your data and workloads from accidental deletion, corruption, ransomware, and disasters without managing backup infrastructure. So we do not manage any backup infrastructure. Azure provide Azure Backup, and so backend Azure only manage all the infrastructure, and we only use the application Azure Backup. Application, and so by using that we take the backups. And so what is ransomware? Ransomware is a uh, it is like a software, that malicious software. When we click on anything, any mail or any attachments, so it will store, and it will encrypt the data. So it will suppose user opens a malicious email attachments, links or infected files. The malware spread through the computer or network. And files are encrypted and become inaccessible. So inaccessible. The attackers later, what attackers demand is money. They demand money. Okay, and for for decrypting the data. So they by using this malicious software, they encrypt, and so for decrypting, so they demand the money. So that is called ransomware. So type of malicious software, we can call it as malware also, that encrypt files or systems, and demands a payments ransom. Ransom is called payment to restore access. So that way, this why backup matters. So backup, why we take the backup? If you have clean backup, you can remove the ransomware, restore data from backups, avoid paying the ransomware. So without paying, we can restore the backup if we have backup. Okay. So workloads, so what Azure Backup can protect. So workload backup support, Azure virtual machines. So it takes full VM and disk level backup. Backup supported. Azure Backup supports full VM and disk level backup. On-prem VMs, Hyper-Vs or VMware VMs via Azure Backup Server. So Azure Files, file share backup. It takes file share backup. SQL Server in Azure VM. App consistent backup. So what is app consistent backup? So while taking backup, so some transaction logs will be stored in the memory. So if you're taking the backup, before taking the backup, it flush the memory data, and so it takes the backup. So app consistent backup is like that. So it is in SQL, yeah, database servers. Takes backup after ensuring that applications have written their pending data to disk. So it will ensure any pending data will be there in the application. So application can recover clearly after a restore. So whatever data in whatever pending data in memory, that this app consistent backup will ensure that taking entire backup of that, even it is in memory also. So it is important in Microsoft SQL Server, Microsoft Exchange Server, like that. There may be data in memory that hasn't yet been saved to disk. So in that case, an application consistent backup coordinates with the application to flush this data before creating the recovery point. So before creating recovery point, so this backup will communicate with the application, that should be flushed before creating the recovery point. So that way it takes the backup. So that is called as app consistent backup. SAP HANA for SAP HANA in Azure VM. So it takes enterprise backup. Uh, Backup supports enterprise backup. Azure blobs operational backup. It takes operational backup. If it is in blob, if it is blob storage, so blob workload, it takes operational backup. On-prem files and folders use Mars agent. So Mars is Microsoft Azure Recovery Service agent. So it takes backup of files. Microsoft uh, it usually install in Windows machines to backup data directly to an Azure Service Recovery Azure Recovery Service Vault. What it does is takes backup files and folders, backup system state for Windows servers, schedule automatic backups, encrypt data before sending it to the Azure, restore files to the same or other server. So it is for Mars is for like that, and it is for on-premises Windows servers, Windows desktops and laptops, Azure VMs when file level backup is needed. So Mars is used for Azure VMs as well as Windows desktops and laptops, on-premises Windows servers. So this agent is installed in the that server, and so it takes the backup of files and folders, and it manages the backup like that. So it encrypt the data before sending it to Azure. So it does all these things. Mars, Microsoft Azure Recovery Service Agent. Core components. In Azure Backup, there are core components, recovery service vault, okay, and it is a central management and storage entity, and it stores backup data, policies, recovery points, okay, and manage backup and recovery data. It is for manage backup and recovery data, store backup recovery points, manage backup policies. So it stores backup recovery points also, manage backup policies, enable restore operations. So restore operations also we can enable on this. Provide security features such as soft delete. So it provides the security features like soft delete. So support Azure Backup and Azure Site Recovery. So it supports for both Azure Backup as well as Azure Site Recovery. Okay. And Azure Recovery Service Vault, what it protects is Azure virtual machines, Azure file shares, SQL servers in Azure VMs, on-premises Windows servers using Mars agent we discussed before. Other supported workloads like that, it stores and okay. So stores backup data, policies, recovery points. Okay, and backup policies, backup frequency. We create backup policies. One is backup frequency, retention. Backup frequency, daily or weekly. We create the frequency. Retention, days, months, years. How many days it should be, backup should be. So we create like that. Backup data storage, stores in Azure Backup Vault. So backup data storage is stored in Azure Service Vault, Azure Backup Vault, encrypted at rest and in transit. It encrypts at rest and in transit. Azure Backup architecture, simple example, Azure VM. So snapshot backup by using Azure Backup extension, and it stores in recovery service vault. So it goes to the Azure storage. So it is encrypted. So recovery service vault backend it creates in Azure storage only, but we can't see any storage account associated with it. So Azure will manage everything. So Azure Recovery Service Vault, we can we can change the replication only, but we can't see any storage account associated with it. Backup types. VM backup. So application consistent backup uses VSS for Windows VM snapshot VSS volume shadow copies. Volume shadow copy service VSS it uses in Windows and pre-post scripts in Linux. So application consistency it uses both VSS as well as pre-post scripts. And file level restore individual files from VM backup. Instant restore, fast recovery using local snapshot. So this is instant restore. By using local snapshot, we can fastly recover the data. Restore options, restore type, replace existing. If you want to replace existing VM, full VM restore. Create new VM, restore to new VM. Disk restore only disks. File level restore, recover specific files. Cross region restore, from GRS fault, we take cross region restore. Security features. So encryption AES 256. Yes, 256. This is 256 bits encryption will be there. So what is AES 256 stands for Advanced Encryption Standard with 256 bits. Advanced Encryption Standard with 256 bits. So it uses in Azure Backup and Recovery Service Vault. Backup data is encrypted using AES 256 before being restored. If using Mars agent, data is encrypted on the source machine before being sent to Azure. So data is encrypted in the source machine before being sent to the Azure. AES 256 helps ensure that unauthorized users cannot read the backup data. So it ensures that unauthorized user cannot data the backup cannot read the backup data. So next is soft deletion. So soft delete 14 days by default. So what is soft delete? So any it actually soft delete prevent it is a security feature in an Azure Recovery Service Vault that protects backup data from accidental or malicious deletion. So any accidental deletion or malicious deletion, so it protects. Let's say a user delete a backup item. Azure does not permanently remove it immediately. So accidentally user delete any backup data, Azure doesn't permanently remove it immediately. The backup enters a soft deleted state. So that marked as soft deleted state. During the retention period, the backup can be recovered. So retention, what is the retention we put usually by default 14 days. So whatever retention we put right by that before that retention period we can recover that data. After the retention period, it is permanently deleted. So that is the soft deletion uses. So protect against accidental deletion. Helps to defend against ransomware attacks that attempt to delete backups. Allow recovery of deleted backup items. So that all benefits are there. Allow recovery of deleted backup items. So any deletion happen accidentally that can be recovered. Multi-user authorization. So multi-user authentication, it is a one more layer of security for deleting the object from the backup. If you so multi-user authorization adds an extra layer of security for critical operations in Azure Service Recovery Vault. It requires approval for another authorization user before sensitive action can be performed. This helps protect backup from accidental or malicious changes. So why it is this? Protect against ransomware attacks, prevent unauthorized deletion of backups, secure critical vault operations. So my multi-user authorization helps like that. Immutable vault. So immutable vault, it is preview when I taking this data. Immutable vault. So what is the immutable vault? So immutable vault is Azure Backup is a secure feature that makes backup data unchangeable and undeletable for a specified period. So it helps protect backups from ransomware attacks, malicious administrators, accidental deletion of recovery points. So when immutable is enabled on an Azure recovery service vault, recovery points cannot be deleted before their retention period expires. So that is called as immutable vault. Sorry, backup policies cannot be altered in ways that would remove protected recovery points. Even user with high privileges cannot immediately delete protected backup data. So by enabling immutable vault, so it is preventing accidental deletion. So recovery points also cannot be deleted before their retention period expires. RBAC plus Azure AD. So it integrated with RBAC plus Azure AD. So we can create policies and we can apply the backup. Um, so backups, we can apply the backups so that by using policies as well as Azure AD authentication, so we can protect backup from the accidental or any ransomware attacks or anything, accidental deletion or ransomware attacks. So, authorization and authentication is required for that. Ransomware alerts. So, ransomware alert, ransomware, we already discussed ransomware. So, it gives the ransomware alerts also. In security features, it gives ransomware alerts if anything is there. So, we can just how we can prevent those alerts. Backup storage redundancy. So backup storage redundancy, there are types we already discussed in backup, and one is LRS. It is use case is cheapest. ZRS, zone failure protection. It uses for zone failure protection. GRS, regional disaster recovery. RAGRS, read access during outages. Azure backup pricing. So you pay for only protected instances. So VM sizes, how many VMs are protected. Backup storage consumed. So how much backup storage is consumed. So based on that, we have to billing will generate. No charge for inbound data backup operations. So backup operations and inbound data, there is no charge. Azure backup is Azure site recovery feature. So Azure backup purpose is data protection. The ASR purpose is disaster recovery. So Azure backup feature RPO in hours, Azure backup in hours, ASR minutes, RTO higher, Azure backup in Azure backup it is higher, ASR very low, cost Azure backup is lower and ASR is higher. Use case backup and restore, ASR is business continuity. RPO. RPO is recovery point objective, the maximum tolerable data loss measured in time. It determines how frequently backups are taken. So determines how frequently backups are taken. So that is retention period, frequency. So how many days, weeks, every day or every week or every month, like that frequency. And RTO, recovery time objective, the maximum acceptable downtime measured in time, defines how quickly you must restore operations after an outage. After an outage happened, so how quickly must restore the operations. So that is recovery time objective. Step by step, step by step, backup Azure VM, go to Azure portal, recovery service vault, create vault. So select the region, backup, select the Azure virtual machine, select VM, choose policy, enable backup. First backup runs automatically. Best practices, use GRS for critical workloads, geo redundant storage, enable soft delete. Soft delete we already discussed, and it prevent from accidental deletion, and even delete accidentally delete also by the retention period end we can restore it before retention period end. After retention period end, it will automatically remove from the backup. Separate prod and non-prod vaults. So when you're creating vaults, we have to choose separate vault for prod and a separate vault for non-prod. Test restores regularly. So restores we have to test regularly. If it is critical environment, so we have to test it regularly. So so we have to test whether it is restoring correctly or not. Lock vault using resource locks. So we have to lock the vault by using resource locks. So there is option resource locks. We have to enable resource lock so that it won't accidentally delete that vault. Enable MUA for deletes. So if you enable multi-user authorization, so we can't administrator can't delete it straight away. So you need one more approval for delete. So we have to enable MUA for deletes. So these are the best practices. So Azure Backup real world use case, production VM accidentally deleted, restore full VM from last backup in minutes. So ransomware attack, rollback to clear recovery point. Compliance long-term retention 7 to 10 years. So we can put long-term retention also. Retention we can put as per the company policy. So we have to follow. Yeah, real world we just use like this. So that's all about Azure Backup. Thank you. Thank you.